Right, so I'm back, and this is actually not a FIFA video. I've been posting just FIFA, but now we're actually back with something completely different. And of course, you guys already know what it is because you guys clicked on the video, you guys read the title of the video, and it is my Premier League predictions for this new upcoming season, which will be starting very soon. Actually, I believe August 5th is the first game, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. It will be very interesting. But anyways, I didn't do so well. I'll put up the points that I got last season, and yeah, hopefully we're gonna be going for better than that. Hopefully under 60 points. That's what I'm going for. Anyways, let's just get straight into my predictions, and we're gonna start from the very bottom of the table and work our way up. Starting at the very bottom of the league, I have one of the newly promoted sides, and of course that's only between the three clubs, but I do have Bournemouth finishing very bottom of the table. I do have them in 20th. I'm not inspired by the transfers that they've made. They've made some pretty decent transfers, but nothing too inspiring, nothing that's got me like, ooh, they could definitely do something. Plus, I don't want to go off of the transfers this whole predictions because I know that sometimes they've swayed me a little too much, and I placed the team a little higher than expected and a little lower than expected, like Liverpool. But anyways, yeah, I'm putting Bournemouth at the very bottom of the league. They still seem like a very championship side, and although they did pretty well in the championship, I don't see them doing well in the Premier League, so I have them going back down. In 19th, I have yet another newly promoted side in Fulham, and I know it's quite controversial, this one, because I know Fulham have actually had a pretty good transfer window, like Kevin Mbabu, Solomon, and I believe João Palhinha. I think that's a great signing. That could be a signing of the season depending on how well he does, but I do see them finishing in 19th because I just feel like Fulham, they're still a very championship side. They're great in the championship. They're amazing. They won the championship last season. I still think they're a fantastic side, but it's not to the level of Premier League status. I don't see them as a Premier League team. I see them more as a very good championship side, but nothing more, but nothing less also. Sorry, Fulham. Finishing up the bottom three, the three relegated sides, I do have Brentford. Now, I personally think that Brentford had a fantastic season last season, and of course, everyone knows because they finished in a great position. But I do see signs of what happened to Sheffield United. Had a great season, but then finished 20th. And I see something similar happening to Brentford. I don't think it's going to be as easy as Sheffield United. I think they will be fighting for relegation. I think they will be amongst the bottom, like 15, 16 or something, around there. But I think ultimately they will finish in 18th and get relegated and go back down to the championship. I just think the side isn't as good as it should be or as it can be. You know, they had a fantastic transfer window so far. Of course, they still have a few more weeks and they could sign more players that improve the squad. I mean, Thomas Strakosha was a fantastic signing. I believe Ben Mee is a great signing as well, and a few others, but I don't see those transfers gelling too well, at least not in this first season. Maybe in the second season they could do much better, but personally I have Brentford in 18th. In 17th, just escaping relegation, I think they will be fighting amongst the bottom three to fight against relegation, but just narrowly escaping it. It is Southampton. I do think Southampton can actually have a really rocky start to the season and just clutch up at the very end of the season and finish in 17th, not getting relegated, staying in the Premier League. But it is quite controversial me putting Southampton here in 17th, but it's just I'm not inspired by how Southampton play, and they don't have much attacking depth or quality up front to, get enough goals to be fighting for, mid-table or something like that. I don't see them doing too well. And I mean, they had a great transfer window in my opinion. But again, it's their first season. You don't know how they'll, work together. I think Gavin Bazunu is a great signing, but how well will he be for Southampton? He could be fantastic, but he could also just not be so good. But I still have them finishing in 17th. They could definitely do a little bit better, but I don't see them finishing higher than 15th. In 16th, I have the last, newly promoted side in Nottingham Forest. I may be a little bit biased. I do quite like Nottingham Forest because, I don't know, No, I just have affiliation with Nottingham Forest. I think I did a FIFA career mode like a year ago on FIFA 21. But anyways, that's besides the point. I do think Nottingham Forest have had a fantastic transfer window so far, and they could definitely do even more. But the main thing that inspires me for them, that really makes me think that they will stay in the Premier League this season, is just that, first of all, there's always one newly promoted side that does pretty well and stays in the Premier League, not comfortably, but still, or somewhat comfortably, but also doing just somewhat okay, you know, for a newly promoted side. But also the fact that they've signed Dean Henderson on loan, I think that is a fantastic signing. I think that could be the signing of the season, honestly. But I do think the signing of Dean Henderson on loan is fantastic and will definitely help them stay in the Premier League. In 15th place is yet another kind of bias pick on my part. I have Leeds United. Now, Leeds, I definitely think they narrowly escaped the relegation last season. But, I mean, they were able to do it. And it was thanks to one of their best players, who is now a Barcelona player. Sorry, Leeds. But, I mean, I still think Leeds have just enough talent to stay within the Premier League. I think they will be amongst those fighting for relegation. I think it will be a very tough fight, but ultimately they will finish in 15th, in my opinion, because they made some pretty good signings. The signings I don't have much hope for. I don't think they'll, you know, click or do pretty good or pretty well, should I say, right away. But I think maybe if you give them a little bit of time under the management of Jesse Marsch, I think they could do somewhat well, like Sinisterra for Rafinha, of course. I think that could be pretty good. But yeah, hopefully they do well. I'm rooting for them, but yeah, 15th for Leeds. In 14th, I have Brighton. I think Brighton are a fantastic team, and they definitely overperformed everyone's expectations last season. I think I was close to putting them in relegation last season, but this time I won't do the same mistake. But I do think they will fall off. I think they had a fantastic season last campaign, but still, they haven't made too many big signings. But I mean, to be fair, that's not really what they do. But I still think they will struggle with goals, and I think they will concede a little more goals because they have lost the likes of Yves Bissouma, of course, to Tottenham. I think that was a great signing for Tottenham, but it's a big loss for Brighton, and I think that will cost them, and they'll ultimately finish in 14th. From nearly getting relegated in 16th to hopefully finishing in 13th as my prediction, Everton. I have Everton finishing in 13th. They haven't made too big signings. I mean, they brought in Vinagre and who else did they bring in? Oh, Tarkowski. I think those are fantastic signings alongside a few others, and I think they might be bringing in some other players, but they did lose Richarlison, which was arguably their best player last season. But maybe, just maybe, Frank Lampard can actually do a pretty good job and, you know, definitely move up the table and finally finish amongst mid-table and maybe, just maybe, pushing for like 10th place. But I don't see them going past 10th place. That's why I put them in 13th. They could definitely finish a little lower, but I think 13th is a pretty good spot where they should be able to finish. From 12th to 12th, they're staying in the same position for me, Crystal Palace. I'm putting them in 12th place. I just think they had a fantastic campaign. I certainly did not think that they were going to have a good season, but they were. They had a new manager, Patrick Vieira. He proved me completely wrong. He did a fantastic management with Crystal Palace, and they kept hold of their best players. I think they can definitely do some pretty good job. I don't think they'll finish any higher, but I also don't think they'll finish any lower. That's why I put them in 12th. Maybe if they do a little bit more in the transfer window, they could definitely finish a little higher, but I don't really see that happening, so that's why I put them in 12th. Ending off the bottom half of the table is Wolves. I put Wolves in 11th. I think they're a fantastic squad. I mean, they have a Mexican in the squad, Raul Jimenez. Unfortunately, he hasn't been scoring the goals, and Wolves are kind of known to like not do so well when it comes to scoring goals. But I still think Wolves have the depth and the players to actually finish mid-table. Maybe not push for Europe anymore, at least not now. Maybe in a few more seasons they can, but I think they're an established mid-table team. I don't think they could go lower than 15th. I could be proved completely wrong, but I think they won't fall lower than 15th, but they also won't go higher than maybe 8th. But hence why I put them 11th. I am definitely rooting for them as well. I mean, they have a Mexican on their side. How am I not going to root for them? But anyways, let's go Wolves, and I'm putting them in 11th. Just scraping top 10 now, I have Aston Villa. I know I massively, they massively underachieved compared to what I predicted, but it's okay. They finished in 14th, I believe, last season, but this time I think they will finish in 10th. I think they had a absolutely fantastic window with the likes of Diego Carlos, Boubacar Kamara, and I believe someone else. I can't remember who it is, but I mean, with those two signings, just them, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think what they're really lacking is maybe someone up front to, you know, cause some damage, but they also brought in Philippe Coutinho on a permanent deal. He could definitely create some magic in the middle of the park and maybe, you know, carry Aston Villa to a top 10 finish, maybe even higher. Maybe push for Europe, but I don't see it quite yet. Maybe next season, but for now, Aston Villa in 10th. 9th, I have West Ham. I know it's quite sad that I'm putting West Ham in 9th. I love West Ham, and I personally would put them a bit higher. I mean, I do have the power to put them higher, but I'm putting them in 9th mostly because they will have European competition. They will be in the Conference League, and I do think that they can actually have a chance of winning it. I think they will win it. I'm gonna say it right here, right now, before any groups have been stated or anything. I'm putting West Ham as the winners of the Conference League so they can make Europa League for next season. But with that, I think they'll focus too much on the Conference League and maybe a few other cups, and, you know, let the Premier League slip a little bit because their depth isn't that great. I do think they had a fantastic signing in the likes of what's his name, Scamacca. I think that's a fantastic signing. Of course, he's gonna maybe be playing alongside Antonio or ahead of Antonio. Either way, I think that's a great signing. I don't think he'll kick off right away, but I think he will be in the shout for the Golden Boot. Maybe not winning it, but maybe, you know, top 10 goal scorers or top 10 strikers for the Premier League this season. In 8th place is, of course, the richest club in the world right now, Newcastle. I don't think they'll make European competition just yet. I think they're one season off and a few signings off. I firmly believe that they are not done in the transfer window so far, because the only signing of note is, of course, Nick Pope and Sven Botman from Lille. They haven't really made like a humongous signing as everyone expects. I don't think they'll make a humongous signing. I think they'll make another few quality signings that will go a little under the radar just to, you know, boost up the defense, boost up the midfield, and definitely boost up the attack, which is what they really need in my opinion. But yeah, they're just a few signings away from maybe making top 7, maybe even top 6. This will be focused on the Premier League. Newcastle just going at it, you know, finishing in a comfortable position so they can move on and push on for top 6 and maybe even top 4 for the next upcoming season. Speaking of European competition, the first European competition place, 7th place, I have Chelsea. Yes, one of the top 6 teams of the Premier League. I have Chelsea finishing in 7th. It's just, their transfer window is it's a mixed bag, in my opinion. It's very mixed. They have brought in the likes of Raheem Sterling from Man City, great signing by the way, and Kalidou Koulibaly, great signing. But they've also lost Andreas Christensen, Antonio Rudiger, arguably one of the best center backs of the Premier League, and they could be losing Cesar Azpilicueta. But I think if they do lose Azpilicueta, I think that could be detrimental to Chelsea's season, because he is their captain. He is a fantastic player. He can play at center back or right wing back or right back and maybe even left back at times. Koulibaly and Thiago Silva are fantastic players, but I think they need one more solid center back, which I do think they will sign, but just losing their captain will be a little bit demoralizing to them, you know? And I do think with the likes of them focused on the Champions League and the Premier League, I think their defense is a little too thin for them to actually be pushing too far in the Premier League. I do think they will do well in the Champions League, or maybe in the Cups. I think in the Cups they will do pretty well, and maybe they can win the FA Cup to make Europa League. But I see them finishing in 7th place and getting Conference League this season. I know I'm rating them really low, but yeah, that's what I'm predicting. From one controversial pick to another, in 6th place I have Leicester City, the club, well, the shirt that I'm wearing, the one that I'm representing right here, right now. I think Leicester City, it's finally your chance to go back to the Europa League at least and finally break the top 6 again, because they did it a few seasons ago and they were close to making top 4, but they haven't been able to. I don't think they're going to be able to do it this season, and I think it'll be very tough. I think Chelsea will push them far. Also, the team that I put in 5th place will also definitely push them very far. But I do think Leicester City will finish in 6th, just barely. I think it'll be within a point or maybe 2 points off of Chelsea. They lose on Yuri Tielemans. I think they could actually fall further, maybe even 8th. But that's besides the point. They have Tielemans right now, and I think they will finish in 6th. They don't have any European competition. They will be fully focused on the Cups and on the Premier League. I do think they will focus a little bit on the Cups, but I think they will also focus a lot on the Premier League to make European competition, maybe Conference League, but I do think that they're going to be pushing for Europa League, hence why I have them in 6th. And for me, the 2nd Europa League spot goes to Manchester United. Another controversial pick. I do think they will not make top 4 because I don't see it yet. I don't see the Ten Hag project working extremely well in the first season. I think they will do well. I think they will definitely be an improvement off of last season. They will definitely be a much better club. They will play much better football. But if they keep Ronaldo, it will be a little bit difficult trying to get the youngsters to score more goals like Marcus Rashford, Elanga, Sancho. I think it'll be a bit difficult for them to, develop their play style, develop their, just overall, just develop themselves. But I do think Ronaldo still will score a good amount of goals. But if they lose Ronaldo, that's completely different. But I still think it won't be much of a difference. Okay, I don't think Ronaldo makes them any better or makes them any worse. I just think that there's two conflicting sides here. Play style or helping Ronaldo. And I think either way if they keep Ronaldo or if they sell him, I think they'll still finish in 5th, and I think they will win the Europa League. That's why I'm putting them in 5th. I think they will win the Europa League, make Champions League for next season, and they'll disregard the Premier League a little bit. The main reason I say that is because Erik ten Hag has proven that he can definitely take a team to very far stages in European competition. I mean, he did it with Ajax in the 2018-19 season, and under Erik ten Hag, I think they could definitely make it far. They could definitely win the Europa League. I think they will win the Europa League, make Champions League, but through the Europa League, not through the Premier League, and I have them finishing in 5th. In top 4, I have Arsenal, a very young squad, even including the manager, very young squad. They are absolutely fantastic. They've had a really, really good transfer window, in my opinion. They brought in the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko, and someone else Fabio Vieira, of course. Completely slipped my mind. But those are fantastic signings. I don't know much of Fabio Vieira, but I mean, he seems like a pretty promising youngster, alongside the likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Martin Odegaard, and then Gabriel Jesus, who absolutely tore it up in the preseason. I think he will tear it up in the Premier League. Honestly, I think he'll be pushing for the Golden Boot. I don't think he'll win it, but I think he'll be maybe top 3, maybe top 5, around there. But I think he'll definitely be pushing for the Golden Boot, maybe 20 goals. I am predicting he can score 20 goals with this youthful side, in this Arsenal side, because he will be the starting number 9, and as long as he doesn't get injured, they'll do well. And maybe they'll push on for the Europa League as well. But I think they'll be definitely focused on the Premier League, making top 4, and I think they will definitely do it. Although their midfield is quite lacking and their depth in the whole squad is not there quite yet, I do think that Mikel Arteta can get the best out of this side, and maybe their best can be higher than 4th, but for this season, I see them finishing in 4th. In 3rd place, I have Tottenham Hotspurs, or Spurs, of course. They've had arguably the best window out of any team in the world. I mean, I would argue Barcelona has a better transfer window, but I still think Spurs had a fantastic window. Richarlison, Bissouma, and Clement Longley. I think that's a pretty good signing. And of course, Ivan Perisic. I think those are fantastic signings, and those are just a few that they made. And I definitely think that they will push on, maybe push for top 2, but they'll just fall out at the dying stages, or maybe somewhere towards the middle of the season. I think they will die off a little bit, and the top 2 will definitely stay in the top 2, and they will finish 3rd quite comfortably away from Arsenal. And I did not want to rely too much on the transfer window, and I do think they have had arguably the best transfer window of any Premier League side, I do think it will be a little less. I'm not as hyped for it as most other fans, because I don't see it clicking too much because it's so many players. But under Antonio Conte, which he's a fantastic manager who's proven it with Chelsea a few seasons ago. But yeah, I still think they'll definitely push on, and I think they can maybe push for the title just a little bit. At some point, they'll be maybe first place for a little bit, but then they'll drop off, but then they'll come back and finish in third place. But yeah, I have them finishing in third place. So in second place, of course, it's one of two teams, which is Liverpool or Man City. Now, those are the top two teams of last season, and of course, you guys will know who I have as champions of the Premier League for this season, as long as I give you number two, of course, and it will be Liverpool. For me, I do think Liverpool will finish in second place, just barely. I don't think that the transfer window has been as good, but I mean, they did lose Sadio Mane. I think that is a big loss. They did bring in Darwin Nunez, but still, losing Sadio Mane is a big loss. I know they have Luis Diaz, and I know they still have Mo Salah, they still have Firmino, they still have Diogo Jota. Those are fantastic players. Losing Sadio Mane, someone who created so much for them down that left wing, and also down the middle as well for some time, I think that is a big loss, but I definitely still think that they can do a pretty good job and finish in second place. They're still quite miles ahead of the rest of the squads, of course, apart from Manchester City. But yeah, I have them finishing in second place. I think they'll definitely push far in the Champions League, push far in the Premier League, and maybe even win a cup or two. But I don't see them winning this season, the Premier League. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Manchester City in first place, and let's talk about them now. So my Premier League champions is, of course, Manchester City. Liverpool, a fantastic side. Jurgen Klopp, a fantastic manager. But I do think that Pep Guardiola can take Manchester City to yet another league title with the likes of Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Calvin Phillips, and just the rest of the squad that have been absolutely fantastic. And if they bring in Marc Cucurella, absolutely fantastic signing for that left back spot or left wing back spot, however they play. It's very interesting to see what they do. I know they lost Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko. Those are three major losses, but I do still think that they could definitely push on for the Premier League, and I am predicting right here, right now, that they will make the Champions League final. And should I say that they'll win it? No, I'll just say that they'll make the Champions League final. I don't know if they'll win it just yet, because their squad depth is not quite there. In my opinion, I used to say Manchester City has the best squad depth, but right now, losing those three big names, I do think their squad depth is a little lackluster, especially with some youngsters not proving to be as good as they probably should. But still, I mean, Phil Foden's fantastic, and they still have the likes of Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, and so many other players. They're absolutely fantastic, and just as Liverpool are, I do think they will definitely push far in this Premier League season, and they will win it. They will be the champions this season. So yeah, just before I end off this video, I did want to say a few words about my end of the season awards, you know, player of the year, young player of the year, and just stuff like that. For me, the player of the year, it's definitely tough to say, and I definitely do want to go for a Manchester City player, but I think, it's really tough to say. I'm gonna go with Kevin De Bruyne. Either Kevin De Bruyne or Jack Grealish. I think one of those two can definitely pick up the player of the year or the player of the season. I think either Dejan Kulusevski or Bukayo Saka can win the young player of the year for this season. The Golden Boot, I definitely think Erling Haaland will win it. I know a lot of people say, no, you're overestimating him, or he maybe will not fit in the Manchester City system, but Pep Guardiola will get the best out of him. I think Mo Salah will definitely push hard for that, but I do think Erling Haaland will win the Golden Boot. Top assister, definitely a Man City player. Either KDB, Riyad Mahrez, or Jack Grealish. Maybe even Phil Foden. Why not? But yeah. And manager of the year, I'm gonna go for either Antonio Conte or Steven Gerrard. I think one of those two managers can definitely push their team to newer heights and, you know, push further than anyone expected. But yeah, anyways, those are my season awards and my Premier League predictions. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe, and lates.